So hello guys and welcome back to another video in our channel. In our video today we are going to look at Chelsea Football Club and we're going to try to ask ourselves a very simple question, and this question is this. Are Poch's tactics outdated in the Premier League? That's the question we are going to ask. Because recently we've seen Pochettino try to implement tactics that gained him success at Spurs, but this looks quite disastrous at Chelsea. So let's look at the peak of Mauricio Pochettino's power. So the peak of Mauricio Pochettino's power was in 2016-2017 when his team managed to have 86 points, just 7 points behind the champions Chelsea. And this was actually the peak of Maurizio Pochettino because he did not manage to win the title after, because Manchester City went ahead and won the Centurions the year after. But this was the highest peak that Maurizio Pochettino reached. So managers such as Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp have dominated the Premier League for the past 6 to 7 years. And these managers have implemented a philosophy that has seen their teams control games, especially Pep. And this philosophy of controlling games has been really emphasized by these two managers, with Jurgen Klopp actually named as the high priest of counter pressing, or what in Germany they call gegenpressing. So pressing is a huge philosophy that has seen mid-table teams improve their transition phase of the game because of these two strong dominant teams. Now, Mauricio Pochettino's tactics and philosophy, which would have made him get away with a lot in the previous pre-Pep Klopp era, are not currently working for him, because now these small mid-table and mid-table teams have come up with ways to effectively transition against big teams, because they had to adapt because of the strength of City and Liverpool. But before we start analyzing, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. First of all, we need to look at how Pochettino was at Spurs and how his teams usually played in Tottenham. So let's start with that. So Pochettino's team will usually build with a three-man backline and one midfielder dropping deep. The fullbacks will be pushing high up initially, and this backline would have not been so high up the pitch, but rather slightly deeper. Only one midfielder was tasked to be present during build-up, and majority of the time it will have been Dembele, with Eric Dyer dropping in between the two centre-backs. Now, the fullbacks will be starting high and wide, while Christian Eriksen will be occupying the number 10 position, with Son, Kane, and Dele Alli playing ahead of him. But how is this tactic outdated at current Premier League? So, looking at Spurs, they will either play with a 4-2-3-1 or a 3-4-3. And these are the two systems that Pochettino employed, and he used the 3-4-3 to match Antonio Conte's Chelsea. Now, the 4-2-3-1 was the default formation that Spurs employed, and the above were the key personnel. So, what did Spurs do in offensive transition? So this 4-2-3-1 will shift, and this is how it will shift. Son will move inside closer to Kane, while Dele Alli will also move on the right side of Harry Kane. This will see Christian Eriksen drop slightly back, playing at the number 10 position, looking to orchestrate and try to create play from these regions. The fullbacks in Trippier and Danny Rose will give the width, while Eric Dyer would push in between the two centre-backs, with Dembele being the deeper of the two center midfielders. Now, this 3-5 system was quite effective in that time, and this 3-5 system has two structures: 5 players attacking while 5 players are defending. But with Spurs, this was different, because Eriksen will be joining the attack. So Spurs will literally have 6 men attacking, while 6 men defending. And as I told you, their backline will not play quite high up compared to City and Liverpool, but rather deeper. And this will see Dembele being the one to orchestrate play from deep and also sometimes look to receive the ball and attempt to dribble past opponents. Now, teams in the Premier League were not quite fascinated with transition football effectively pre-Pep and Klopp era because only Pochettino was the one probably employing the counter-pressing situation effectively. And so, most times when the opponents will win the ball, they will just attempt to play the ball long. And this was to try and pick their two forwards. But Spurs' backline, having 3 men and aerially dominant centre backs, would manage to win the duel because remember, Spurs conceded the fewest goals in that season. So nowadays, teams are more sophisticated by dropping a forward or both forwards deep to effectively create link-up play, quick one-touch passes. So these mid-table teams such as Everton, teams like Newcastle, teams like maybe the Crystal Palaces have really evolved when it comes to playing these short, intricate passes during transition, even teams such as Wolves. And therefore, they usually drop maybe 2 of their forwards to create a 2v1 against a midfielder and immediately look to progress with the ball towards the attacking phases of the game. Why is this? It's because the backline has not pushed up to aid the counter-pressing situation. And that's why something that Mauricio Pochettino was succeeding in prior times where the backline would stay slightly deeper and his 2 midfielders would stay in front has changed. Now you see teams such as Manchester City pushing that backline so high, pinning the opposition inside their 18-yard space. And pushing this backline so high compresses that space between the midfield and the defense line. And when you have your backline playing so high up the pitch, you are able to win these counter-pressing balls effectively, assuring that your centre-backs win 1v1 duels and immediately engage in attack. And this was perfectly exemplified by Manchester City when they were playing Manchester United at the Etihad on Sunday. We saw how Manchester City's line was so high and how they immediately compressed the pitch. The goalkeeper is the one who starts to play slightly higher to sweep the balls. So let's look at how Pochettino is implementing this tactic at Chelsea. And he actually did a video to explain what he was trying to implement at Chelsea. So I'm going to give you a minute to check that video as it's playing.
More freedom because Caicedo can drop and build from back, but is a player that can combine with Enzo, being in different space to help him to build from back. But he is a player that need to, little by little, to give more freedom after to arrive to the opposite half because have the capacity to score. But Enzo also too is improving a lot because now Enzo is a player with the capacity to drop and hold the tip in the build-up from back, the transition to connect and to help also good pass and keep possession, and then to arrive, from the second line and score goal. But Caicedo, little by little, is going to find also the regularity and the consistency to do this.
Now, a clear example is in this clip when Chelsea were playing Liverpool. Look at how Chelsea have pinned Liverpool behind. You can see Caicedo is the only holding midfielder in this position, but the backline is actually at the halfway line. The backline has not pushed forward to squeeze the space between Caicedo and the defense. Now, Liverpool are able to break, but look at the backline. The backline is way behind. The centre backs are way behind, and now Caicedo is left isolated up in the middle of the park. Enzo, who was supposed to sit next to Caicedo, is caught high, while Conor Gallagher did not even drop to help Caicedo. So how did Chelsea find themselves in this awkward position? So this is how Chelsea build. So sometimes you'll see Pochettino insisting that Sterling starts out wide with Cole Palmer starting slightly infield. And the structure of Chelsea looks quite chaotic during attack. So Gusto will push forward to hold the width down the right. And against Manchester City, we saw Caicedo dropping in between the two centre-backs, with Chilwell maybe pushing forward and Sterling coming in. And the two center midfielders who are supposed to be there is usually Enzo and Conor Gallagher, especially when Caicedo drops in between. But now we see that Pochettino wants Sterling to start wide and Enzo to occupy that position. Now the problem is Conor Gallagher usually shifts towards the right and isolating Caicedo alone in the midfield region. Rather than the forward line, the back line also pushing forward to hold the high line and compress the space. What you usually see is, especially when Thiago Silva plays, he does not like to leave huge rooms of space in behind, but rather holds the line in a slightly deeper position. Now, Caicedo is left isolated majority of the times alone in midfield. So if Pochettino wants Enzo to push forward during the attack, then he should ensure maybe either Gallagher drops deep and one of the fullbacks drops deeper. This now allows Caicedo to be bypassed easily in midfield, and that's why you've seen Caicedo playing quite horribly when he plays in midfield by himself, because he's easily played through. Now you can see opponents are just playing through Chelsea easily, and they're able to beat Chelsea's press. Now, when Caicedo tries to drop deep and Enzo plays deeper, what we should see is that when Chilwell overlaps, what should happen is that Conor Gallagher is usually caught in no man's land. I don't know if he lacks positional awareness or what is the problem, because Gallagher should be the one to be dropping deep so that he can allow his team to have structure when they are in possession. Because remember, teams such as Manchester City and Liverpool are beating Chelsea because they are able to attack while defend, and they're able to defend while they are attacking. But because Chelsea's backline does not push forward, and we saw this against the game against Liverpool, is when we saw the problem. Now, look at this clip. This clip exemplifies this. You can see the two centre backs playing so deep. Caicedo is isolated in midfield. Enzo is high up. Gallagher is high up. And the two fullbacks are also pushing high up. Here again, you can see the problem that we have with Chelsea. Gallagher has pushed up. Enzo has pushed up. Caicedo is left alone in midfield. And people are now coming to question, oh, Caicedo is a flop. Caicedo does not do. But is Caicedo being put in a system that makes him have his strength? Here again, you can see that Caicedo is alone in midfield. Enzo has been told to push up, and now Colwill is the one who has to come in midfield. Yet they are still not playing close to Caicedo. So I did a video explaining why Chelsea can't control games, but Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester City can. Go and watch that game. Go and understand how these other teams are able to control games. Because remember, a team is usually in two phases. They are either in possession or out of possession. The shift from in possession to out of possession is known as the transition phase. And managers such as Pep, Klopp, and Arteta have come up with a mechanism to deal with the transitions, either to capitalize on transitions to immediately create opportunities for their team, or to stop transitions to prevent their teams from conceding through transitions. And that is the problem that Pochettino's system is facing. Thomas Tuchel was able to put Thiago Silva in a back three system with quick centre backs on either side, such as Azpilicueta and Rudiger, who are able to cover this aspect of counter pressing. So now the ball lies in Mauricio Pochettino's court whether he will be able to implement this. Thanks for watching.